What's going on, gamers? What's going on, RPG fantasy lovers? So here we have a video by Vara Dark. Then we have a headline by Elon Musk highlighting that in a recent preview, the Avowed developers Obsidian Entertainment has pronouns in their game spotted saying he and him. So here's my take on this, right? Because I always have Game Pass, I'm still gonna play the game because I love Elder Scrolls games. I love Fallout games. I like these type of games in general. I like Obsidian Entertainment. I think they're good developers, but I need to see what Obsidian Entertainment has in their staff compared to the last Outer Worlds development. If y'all didn't know, they used to be with Bethesda. And here's my thing. Obviously, I'm against this because I just think it's retarded and it's just confusion. There's male and there's female. That's it. All this other stuff is nonsense. Um, I need to see how far it goes. If the game is good, because a lot of people are saying positive things about the previews and they're actually enjoying it, and I like what I see, right? I noticed they did add more female staff, but I need to see what percentage of them are working on the game and how the game ends up turning out. And like I said, when you have Game Pass, I'm not saying that I was buying the game at full price, even outside of that, but if it was good enough, I would. If you have Game Pass and it's always going to be active, you could just hit the play button. I know she does play all those games that she exposes to, so does Endymion and all of them. People do that. Um, so that's not really the question here. The question here is how affected is Obsidian Entertainment with the DEI woke agenda? How affected is the game itself? If the game is good and all you slapped in there was just those labels, because remember, it's not developers, it's the suits and ties. It's the publishers. They're enforcing that upon them. If they're being hurt because of that, I'm not going to go against the developers. But obviously, we need to attack this, right? Because we don't want it in our industry. Because when you give it a little step, it tries to take a mile, right? Give something an inch, tries to go a mile. And Obsidian has always pretty much been one of the prime developers recently that was not on board with this crap. They just don't put that in their games. But now we see it's kind of being enforced because Microsoft owns them, right? And they're just trying to get their hands on every Western developer, not necessarily Microsoft, but just this agenda is possible. The Baphomet agenda causing confusion because it's like, stop being retarded, right? You people are acting like infantiles. You're acting retarded, like because there's male and there's female, and everybody knows when they see a male or when they see a female, unless they're trying to confuse stuff and do all this stuff you see they're doing now. They're just trying to confuse people because that's all that is. It's nothing else but confusion and corruption. So that's my thing with this before we get started in this. And we're going to see what Elon Musk saying having pronouns in a fantasy video game is utterly unacceptable. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't like that because, like I said, it's just stupid. And if it's not affecting the game development, I'm okay with it. Meaning that I'm still going to enjoy the game. But if it's affecting like Dragon Age, that's going to piss me off because it's another company that I care about that they're trying to ruin. So let's get into this.
Every time a game gets delayed, it seems that they get further away from their initial vision. And while there are a lot of titles that have released over the past few years that have pushed identity politics, that have chosen body
Mm-hmm.
types A and B or 1
Mm-hmm.
and 2, that have added pronouns to games, it seems that Xbox's upcoming first-person fantasy RPG Avowed is going to do the same exact thing. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I can't say I'm very shocked to hear that developers are going out of their way to add things like pronouns to their games. Absolutely pointless additions. You should just have a male and a female. It should be that simple. But now developer Obsidian Entertainment and publisher
Yeah, exactly.
Xbox Game Studios' upcoming first-person fantasy RPG Avowed will feature pronouns. Now, this is happening a lot in video games right now when companies are making games and they're focused more on providing identity politics than a genuinely amazing high-quality experience. Look at Dragon Age: The Veilguard. The character creator was Mental
Oh,
Illness Simulator, You got to choose pronouns. You could add top surgery scars when you got in the game. You had characters like Tosh who were not really characters that were well written. They simply existed in order to push a specific narrative, to add terms like non binary into the game, which is absurd. I don't want modern terminology in my video games, especially when we're talking about a dragon fantasy game. I don't want to hear about transgender, non binary. I shouldn't have to pick my pronouns. But we're seeing on character sheets that yes, characters do feature, at least in this menu, pronouns. The inclusion of pronouns into the game was discovered after YouTuber Force Gaming shared an early review of the game after he was allowed to play around 20 hours of it. Now, first of all, as a content creator myself, I think that this is ridiculous. I do not think that it should be this way. Content creators, sure, could get early play testing if they are at some sort of event like a PAX, for example, and there are booths, but I do not think content creators should be able to get full access to a game, especially this early. It's not even releasing anytime soon, and it has been delayed multiple times. But during his review, while discussing the leveling system, he showed off some of the game's menus where it clearly identifies his character with he, him pronouns. So it looks pretty standard. There's an abilities, character, inventory, journal, and map tabs, but it says that he is a level 6. It shows the experience needed for the next level, war hero, and then he/him. And you would imagine that if they are including pronouns, there's not just going to be he/him and she/her. There's most likely also going to be a they/them. And who knows what else they're going to add to this. Now, I have to be honest,
Okay, yeah, I know what she means because it kind of just kind of goes together. If they're going to sneak that in, they have to have the other mental disordered nonsense. And that's what I'm saying. If that's all that's in this game, but the rest of the game is actually good, it's not affecting gameplay, it's not affecting direction, story, none of that, I'm going to enjoy the game because you're just putting words in front of me and I still have a great gaming experience. Obsidian Entertainment are good developers. So that's where we have to see what else does this lead to compared to if they're just slapping that in there. Obviously, this is somebody trying to get into their development quality and put their face into it because that's what they like to do, like Sweet Baby Inc., right? And you're going to be hurting something that was good and had light in it, but you want to try to stain it with just this label. If that's all you're doing, then we should help the developers out. But the problem is that the people who own them are the evil ones. Because once again, developers are not hiring DEI, ESG, woke nonsense. We know who does the hiring. They're not supporting this agenda. They don't have the funds and they don't decide. They just have to follow suit or you get layoffs. So you see what I mean? I'm not necessarily mad at the developers here. I need to see what the hell is really going on and where this actually leads to. This is where we're going to really find out. Because Dragon Age is totally different. You had a Baphomet director and implementing everything in the series, and you saw that. But if you have the same high quality developers that have always been there, giving you always that awesome experience, then I'm gonna hit the play button on Game Pass. Either way, I am, and it doesn't hurt if you already own a subscription. So that's my way of taking this. But obviously, I'm always against this, 100%. I'm annoyed that I see it because I like these devs, and they're trying to do this to us. So that's why we need to attack this and attack who's doing this.
I think that this game looks really rough around the edges, judging by the more recent gameplay trailers and teasers that we've seen. It really does not look like a super high quality experience. Now, because it is Obsidian, I have higher expectations,
Right.
but their last giant release, The Outer Worlds, wasn't my favorite game either. I felt that that was also pretty okay. I didn't
It was a good game, but I know what you mean. It's like they're trying to do Bethesda type games, but they're giving you like a medium-sized package of it. They don't have that massive depth to it. Like, man, I could put 100, 200 hours into it with mods. And Avowed is kind of following that same principle where it's like, I feel like I'm getting a filler for like Elder Scrolls, but I don't think it's going to be like 200, 300 hours with mods and all that. So you can kind of see that in those games.
think that it was terrible, don't get me wrong. I just felt like it was quite an underwhelming experience, and it truly did not do anything super unique that we hadn't seen in a game before. And
Yeah.
Avowed, to me, looks similar to something like Skyrim in terms of the magic system and the first person combat, but I just don't think that it looks like a super high quality experience. Maybe once it comes out, the pronouns really won't matter, and it will be an absolutely fantastic video game. Though, seeing this already is pretty worrying because this is the direction that the mainstream industry has headed in
Yeah.
over the past couple of years, pushing things like
Hmm.
gender ideology when people just want really great, high quality experiences. But to top that off, we never had heard anything like this was going to be featured in the game, though now it is, and it's a little bit suspicious because Microsoft, Xbox Games Studios parent company obviously, has made it abundantly clear it wants to normalize this. The company released its Gaming for Everyone's product inclusion framework earlier this year, where it instructs developers to answer a set of questions. Some of these questions include: what steps have you taken to ensure characters are represented respectfully and authentically?
Oh
Are you
God.
reinforcing any negative gender stereotypes? Are you unnecessarily introducing gender and gender barriers into your code or design?
Retards.
Are you creating playable female characters that are equal in skill and ability to their male peers? Are your female characters equipped with clothing and armor that's realistic, that fits their tasks? Do they have exaggerated body proportions? When the story allows, do you show male characters who display a full range of emotions, including joy, sadness, and
Devilry.
vulnerability, which is absolutely fucking ridiculous? Developers should not need companies
Nothing but devilry and Satanism.
to hold their hands. If a developer and a team of creatives make something that they feel confident in, that should be the end of the story. But because Microsoft decided to release this inclusion framework earlier this year, it's led a lot of people to question, what were the games like before developers actually had to take these pieces of information, these rules, into consideration? I
Yeah.
personally hate hearing this, that developers cannot tell the story they want because they are being controlled by their parent companies and by higher ups at companies. If a developer feels confident in the content that they've made,
Leave them
that should be
alone.
at the end of the story. That should be what they're releasing. And that's just not the state of the industry currently. So, like I said,
Exactly. That's why we need to see who the puppet master is. It's politics, right? Who's behind both wings? It's the puppet master, you see? And who's behind these developers? See, they're being hijacked. They don't want to do this. It's like, if I give somebody a painting, get the fuck out of my room. Let me finish my painting. Because the inspiration is going to come from my heart. It's going to come from the inside. I don't need you walking around telling me what to do when I'm making a painting. If I'm writing poetry, leave me alone. I don't need you. You know what I mean? Like, you're just getting in the way, trying to tell me how I need to write, trying to tell me how I need to paint, right? Because that's what this is. You see? It's tyrannical. It's corruption. It's upside down, and it's backwards. But vampirism. So, yeah, I mean, there we go again. More mental retardation, right? The upside down and backward spectrum of the creator's order and unity and light. What's out of order, right? Mental disorder. The
take all of
feminism,
this with a grain of salt,
destroying the masculine principle.
but be mindful of the fact that there are pronouns on character tabs and character sheets, and one would assume if there's he/him, there's going to be
Them.
she/her and they/them. Otherwise, if there was two options, why would you even add them in the first place? And that also means that it could seep into the gameplay itself, that there could be very annoying characters who only exist to push a specific narrative, like Tosh, for example. Who doesn't want a Tosh in their game? These devs will ask, and then we will cringe visibly because that's the way that they think. Why not add one or two characters that are extremely annoying? So, like I usually say, do not pre order. Wait until the game has released or you've heard reviews release from your favorite content creators. Even if you still trust Access Media, if you have a YouTuber that you really like, maybe.
Yeah, good video, Vara. I know what you mean. That's why we got Game Pass now on PC and Xbox. You know, people go on Game Pass anyway. See, like I said, if you already have it, you know you're going to have it up. Just hit the buy button. I mean, not buy one, but just hit the play button. So, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Like I said, I still think this is going to be a good game, and I think this is just them trying to do that to them because they just want to do it. So, if things end up affecting the game more, that's going to be highly disappointing from a company that I've always liked. I've loved New Vegas, but there's a lot of changes that have went on since then. But let me know what y'all think. Like I said, peace out. Good video, bro. You're cool. Later, y'all.